Why is Fredo trending? Tell you what, and I gotta say, I truly am baffled by this. I decided to take a look at the worldwide trends, and what I found was Hong Kong doesn't even appear on the trending list.
Welcome to New Unrealist. Beanie Man Tim Pool is right. While we're here laughing at Fredo Cuomo with CNN and watching drone footage of Jeffrey Epstein's island being raided, there's thousands of people over in Hong Kong engaged in actual hand-to-hand, or hand-to-club in a lot of cases, with actual agents of a totalitarian communist regime. So, if you've watched my channel a long time, you've seen a lot of videos in the past about demonstrations here in the US. If a member of Antifa tosses a milkshake at a Proud Boy in Portland, Twitter is lit up with Portland and PDX hashtags, right? And say what you want about those scuffles in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, they involve at any one time usually no more than a few dozen people. But here we have more or less a significant chunk of one of the world's largest cities engaged in a struggle against the internal security forces of the People's Republic of China. With military convoys sighted assembling in a staging area in a stadium in adjacent Shenzhen, just 20 miles or so away, like the man in the beanie said, Fredo is trending on Twitter while all this is going on. Now, we know a lot of people are tweeting about Hong Kong. Search the hashtags. You'll get plenty of tweets on in return. So what is going on? Is Twitter in bed with the communists in China, suppressing the spread of information about the Hong Kong protests? I've been aware of the protests in Hong Kong for a couple of months now. I guess I first noticed the story back in early or mid-June, when hundreds of thousands, or at one point 1 million or more people, took to the streets of Hong Kong to express opposition to the onerous Fugitive Offenders and Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters bill that was proposed by the Chinese Communist puppet government of Hong Kong. And I guess at the time I figured out, you guys probably wouldn't be interested in some obscure legal matter, internal to the People's Republic of China. But, suffice it to say that at that time, in the face of that significant chunk of the city being effectively in the streets, and much of Hong Kong's daily life and commerce being essentially paralyzed. Remember, this was back in June. The chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, she suspended the extradition bill on June 15th. So basically, the people of Hong Kong, what it is that they don't want mainland China to be able to pluck someone from Hong Kong out of there and move them to mainland China to face trial there, where, I mean, come on, mainland Chinese courts are basically kangaroo courts that, the whole world knows that they stage a little more than show trials. So they'd essentially be able to grab anyone that the party deemed a troublemaker in Hong Kong and toss them into a gulag. Yeah, I mean, it's 2019, and I don't think people realize China still has gulags. So if you think when the chief executive Lam, when she suspended the extradition bill back in June, that would have been the end of it, right? Goal achieved. But the people of Hong Kong, they saw through this. It's a sham. The bill is merely, that's the word, suspended. It wasn't pulled, it wasn't canceled, it wasn't withdrawn. at any time, presumably after the protests have dissipated, the bill can just be brought back up and rammed through in short order. So what we have is a standoff. The puppet government of Hong Kong, they won't make any further concessions to the protesters' demands. They won't withdraw the extradition bill. Mainland China can't afford to do that because they would essentially lose face, and other provinces and parts of China will start getting ideas. So the protesters, they refuse to stand down until the bill is withdrawn. So, that's where things are at. And since the communists, when they first tried to have pro-Beijing organized crime organizations, the triads, the Chinese mafia, they tried to put an end to this by having them go in there and basically beat up the protesters, beat them into submission, but that didn't work apparently. So now it's more or less they've had to resort to the Hong Kong police, just throw them in there directly with their shields, their batons, the rubber bullets, the tear gas, the whole 9 yards. And now the action is centered on the Hong Kong airport, and this seems to have really escalated things. I mean, the protesters were smart to target that airport because Hong Kong needs that airport open. Several days of occupying the airport, they forced it to close for a couple days at a time now, and because it's the airport, you have a significant concentration of foreign media there. Unlike if this was going on in other parts of the city. So it draws a lot of attention, and it's an important economic artery of Hong Kong. I believe it's an island, as a matter of fact. So, that's basically the way you get in and out of there, more or less. So, hundreds of flights, because of all this stuff going on at the airport, they've had to cancel hundreds of flights. And it's just hard for people to get in or out of Hong Kong now. Basically, if you're a foreigner in Hong Kong, you're more or less stuck there. So, the situation is untenable. And the Communist Party, they seem poised to act to end this serious problem at the airport. Well, serious for them. You got, like I mentioned earlier, a major military convoy. It was, not just reported, it was recorded on video, moving into Shenzhen and arriving at Shenzhen Stadium. So that what the Chinese military was trying to do, they've hidden the troop transports inside the stadium so that they're out of sight. But satellite imagery, as well as video taken by people inside the stadium, show the vehicles parked all around the perimeter of the field inside the stadium. So this staging area is only roughly 20 miles away from the area of the protests in Hong Kong, and it's leading many to speculate that military action is imminent. Why else move the vehicles and hide them in a stadium in a staging area? So some of the protesters, in an obvious effort to gain more attention in the United States, have taken to flying the flag of the United States of America, writing their signs in English, and having speakers that address the media use English. So I can understand their frustration, as it would seem it's almost like there's a conspiracy of silence. If news that would, if it happened somewhere else except for China, that would ordinarily be the lead on most social media outlets. Can you imagine if, say, thousands of protesters were shutting down Heathrow Airport in London for several days? It'd be wall-to-wall coverage. I have the sneaking suspicion that Twitter, Facebook, Google, Instagram, all the big names, they don't want to offend the master of their largest potential market, the Communist Party of China, and they're just tacitly going along with Chinese government censorship efforts. Now, I have no proof of this, like, for example, just on Twitter, except for the conspicuous absence of these things that should be trending in the trending area. President Trump, he's now tweeted about this situation now. So far, he's just saying that the U.S. intelligence has seen the buildup of Chinese military forces in Shenzhen, and that he hopes things get worked out peacefully. I don't think there's much we here in the United States can do about what is clearly an internal Chinese matter, but I know what side I'm rooting for. The Communist Party of China, it's oppressive to its own people, and Hong Kong, back when the British turned sovereignty over to China, Hong Kong was promised autonomy. And this does not look like a fulfillment of that promise of autonomy to me. The government they have, it's a puppet, it's a joke, it's not even elected by the people. The chief executive is selected by a council of 1,200 people? They don't have, direct elections for their chief executive, I think be the equivalent of a mayor. So you have 1,200 people decide who runs a city of 7 million people. It's insane. So there you have it. I felt I owed it to you, the regular viewers of this channel, to say something about Hong Kong. So it's not always about the latest SJW nonsense or did Epstein fart in his cell before he passed away. Now, if I get a better idea of why this stuff isn't trending on social media, more solid than just a gut feeling or a suspicion, I'll obviously revisit this topic, but more likely the way things are headed, it's probably going to be me talking about some military crackdown the next